Hey guys, and welcome back to Cultured Boys, a show where two guys just want to have a chat. I'm Nathan, and as always, I'm joined by Pepe, and this week we are reading some more manga.
Yeah,
Woo!
manga. Yeah, let's go. Bread and butter. Oh wait, hold on. Can I say?
No, it's another bleak. God dang it. Anyway, it is actually bread and butter for me at least,
Yeah.
because it's a sports manga.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I need to bring the energy up because of what we're talking about.
Yeah, because this is a manga as well, which you don't often see. Like a sport anyway that you don't often see. It's a ice hockey manga.
Yes, it is. It's interesting for sure.
Yeah.
We are talking about the newer series in Jump. We're talking about Dogs Red.
Yes. And as me and Nathan have just found out, this series was actually originally published in 2011, got cancelled, and has been relaunched.
Yes, there's a whole thing we didn't even literally just before we hit record. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy.
The original mangaka of this was behind Golden Kamuy, you said, right?
Yes.
That's mad. Like,
Yes, Satoru Noda actually did this first, as in the first version of Dogs Red,
mm-hmm,
Supina Marada,
mm-hmm.
and then went and did Golden Kamui, and now we have Dogs Red.
Yeah. You don't often see a manga get relaunched like this, I guess, because it's kind of like, well, once it ends, you just think, oh, that's it. Like, they're not going to do it again. But like the fact that it's back, basically, like the original one only lasted for about a year, had 6 volumes, and currently there's 23, 24 chapters of this out,
Yeah.
and we have 2 volumes out at the moment. But Nathan, do you want to give a quick rundown of what exactly Dogs Red is?
Yes. So, as previously stated, Dogs Red or Dogos Redo is created by Satoru Noda, famous for Golden Kamui, published in Weekly Young Jump again, and was published from July 27th, 2023 to the present. So, it's fairly new. It's been around a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Dogs Red is about. Well, I guess this is a terrible segue because I took this directly from Manga Plus itself.
Yeah.
So it's not a smooth transition. The stage is the proud land of the North, Hokkaido. The year is 2010. How would you pronounce that?
Rao?
Ro?
Wait, is that the guy from is that the guy from North Fist and North Star?
Yeah, Rao is from Fist of the North Star.
Maybe Ro. Yeah.
Because ROU?
Ro.
Ro Shirakawa has just received the highest score in history at the All Japan Junior Figure Skating Championships. But suddenly, he loses control and starts destroying the stage. He is quickly disqualified and banned from the skating world for life. Now nicknamed the Rabid Prince, Ro ends up in Tamakomai, an ice hockey town in northern Japan. And on a hockey rink on a frozen lake, he meets the ruthless Genma brothers. Ro will soon learn of the famous Oino Kami High School and their quest to win an unprecedented 20th straight national hockey championship, and also the strong yet beautiful battle sport ice hockey. Change, grow, evolve, turn defeat into victory in this red hot redemption story.
Thank you, Manga Plus.
Yeah. That's how you know I took it from somewhere that definitely is trying to sell this.
Yeah, they're really trying something. Like, I think it's like there's so many like kind of buzzwords in this description as well. Like,
I know, right?
You know when you compare it to something like Mal or like Crunchyroll or like Wikipedia, for example, they're just straightforward. But like it's like change, grow, evolve.
All the other descriptions probably would have ended at like unprecedented 20th straight national hockey championship.
Yeah, there's a lot there, but what they've described is pretty freaking accurate and actually sells the series perfectly because, I mean, yeah, it is, when they say, was it the, I think, was it like, yeah, ruthless, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Beautiful battle sport. Like, I mean, Arguably, yeah. Like it is. All these do like correlate to ice hockey in general. Like I've never really watched ice hockey before either.
I've never watched it, but I did get into ice hockey video games at one point.
Oh yeah.
And like I got really into them because it's a sorry, not a combat sport. It was really fast paced, but it was also kind of aggressive because in ice hockey you can body check people.
Yes.
So like there's like normal tackles and stuff, but like pretty much all you do is like you ram into someone else.
It's brutal, isn't it? Yeah.
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 You're basically fighting.
Mm.
But like it's also like really fast paced and stuff. So like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for a short while, maybe a solid 2 or 3 years, I was like really into playing NHL games.
Yeah. I see. I see. I know barely anything about the actual sport itself. I know like a friend, one of my friends in America, he actually coaches ice hockey.
Oh, whoa, that's cool.
But I barely know anything about it. I know he's super into it. Like I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It's sports. Like you know me, the only sport I'm into right now is basketball. And I only really got into that a year ago. So like any sport for me is just like, oh yeah. So
You're in luck because and Pepe, you'll know this because we read the thing.
yes.
They do often reference basketball as like another sport. They're like, it's like basketball but on ice.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you tried to body check people in basketball, though, I think you'd definitely get ejected.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's
I know,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
differences, but like they at least when they're talking about like the speed of the game, they're like, yeah, it's like basketball on ice.
Yeah, I think like one of the like main things here as well is I don't. You said you read 10 chapters of this, Nathan.
Yes, in our conversation before.
Before, yes, yeah, pre mentioned before this podcast. Nathan read 10 chapters. I actually read all of it. I don't know if you got to the point where you like Ro goes to see a hockey game.
Yes, at the end of chapter 10, he was watching the nationals, Inter High Nationals.
Yes.
That's where I ended.
Yes.
It's just after the older Genma brother, I think Shoichi Genma, had taken to the ice
Oh, okay.
as the goalie for Owino Kami High School.
Yeah. Because obviously knowing very little about the sport. You know, in that, so a bit of context, there's roughly about 2 games that have gone on in the first 20 or so chapters.
Yeah.
There's that first game, basically, where Ro basically is brought in to help this school participate in a game.
Yeah.
And he bear in mind he's a figure skater, he knows nothing about the sport, so he's brought in straight away and is like flailing everywhere.
Yeah, he's just causing trouble.
Because the team that Ro's playing for is basically lacking a bunch of players, that they're barely meeting the threshold to actually play. So the other team ends up having like 22, like a draft like 22 players to pick from, whereas Ro's team only has 12.
Yeah, they have literally the bare minimum.
Like, yeah, literally. So while that's going on, and then obviously Ro's team is absolutely getting demolished because they're so underpowered, they're basically known for just basically not scoring in a single game at all in hockey. And like they're listing what their scores were in previous games, and then one of them was like, oh yeah, we lost 60 points to this team, lost like 45 points to this team, like to 0 basically. I was sitting there, I was like, I don't really know what the scoring threshold is, because think about it like basketball and soccer, right? Or football. I can't believe I just said soccer.
Yeah, I can't believe you just said that.
I think it's because they say soccer in a manga, I've just been like, yeah, that's the best. Because I drew that comparison straight away. But basketball and football, like basketball is a really quick turnover game, so you could end up with a game which ends in like over 100 points for each team. Whereas obviously football, it takes a bit more time, and there's a whole length of the pitch and stuff like that you got to run. A typical football game could be like, I don't know, 2-1 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I had no frame to go on what an actual typical hockey game is in terms of scoring. So when they were saying 60-0, I was like, is that like, obviously scoring no points is bad anyway, but like, is 60 like a massive loss, or is it like...
That's a pretty big loss. Like,
yeah,
because from what I remember, and this is also kind of what the manga explained, because it's been a long time for me, each goal is just a single point.
Yeah.
And with 3 20-minute like play sessions, periods,
yeah,
that's basically a point every minute.
Yeah, true. Yeah. It's mad, isn't it? Yeah, okay, yeah.
You know, it's a very fast-paced game. So if you're scoring 1 a minute, 60 is like...
It's basically being demolished, basically. You're absolutely getting fucked, yeah.
Yeah, it's getting absolutely dicked. Like,
Yeah.
you just pack it in, you're done. You know, you got cooked.
Yeah.
you're out. Like, so
So, like, in comparison to the second game that we see in the manga, where it's actually two like very good teams playing off against each other,
yeah.
there isn't much scoring. There's like 1 point per period, basically, from what I see. So, is a typical ice hockey game a very like not very many turnovers like that? Would you say?
Again, I've never watched professional hockey. I've only ever played the
Yeah.
video games, and like video games is like as good as you are is how good the game turns out.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can't really answer that question. I don't really know.
Okay, yeah.
But I'd imagine it's pretty accurate. Like if you're super like top end teams, like you're at the peak
Mm-hmm.
and your goalies are like super crazy like that. They're saving most of the goals. Yeah, you're probably, I don't know, professional game probably is 10 points,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit more. Like I can't imagine in a essentially an hour game. They'll probably get to maybe like if they're like super stalemate, probably less than 10 points.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like because with that kind of sport as well, you have like specific defenders as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, or you have a defensive line, I think, anyway. So yeah, I mean, it's something I have to look into a bit more. But case in point is that, like, again, I had no frame reference, and the manga does as well as it can to give you the exposition of all this kind of stuff. Like, especially like, I think the first chapter is heavily exposition.
Yeah.
That is like, there's a lot of like the characters don't really speak to each other in that first chapter. It's a lot of square boxes detailing a lot of what's going on. So like in the first chapter, it really threw me off. I was like, what the fuck? They're literally just telling me a bunch of things. There's no actually.
I mean, it did have a lot to go through though, because it's like it's got to set up all of Rose's backstory.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose it could have thrown you in and been like, oh, yeah, look at him, he's just playing hockey. But then it's like, I don't know how effective that would be, like, because I don't know how many people would stick around and care if you already show him being like great at ice hockey. And then it's like, oh, yeah, by the way, he was a figure skater. Let's show you all that stuff. I think people would have dropped off and been like, ugh.
I think they did it the right way with the way they've told the story. I think that, like, the way they've told the story is like pretty much perfect to me. I think it's great setup. Like, there's a lot of like, oh, you're seeing what he did before and then how he got to this point. But I think the one like issue, I say it's an issue like in the first chapter. Well, I didn't actually find it an issue. I found it just quite weird that like there's a lot of them just telling you what was going on rather than showing you in some ways. You know what I mean? Like, although like obviously there's panels which do show you it, but like there's a lot of just text boxes which are just detailing it all. I think for me it was like, oh, this is kind of catching me off guard a little bit, and like there isn't like dialogue going on between people, and it's like the fans in the background are saying, oh yeah, he did this, it's the same shame that his mother died this time ago, he usually does this and he goes through this routine. And I think it's like those characters detailing it all or giving the whole rundown is like what kind of weirdly threw me off. But that's just in the first chapter, and it obviously is doing the setup stuff, so it's like I can understand why it's been done like that, but you don't really get that past the first chapter at all, really. After that, it's pretty much just a solid like story, I'd say.
I didn't actually find it that strange though, because like, at least for me, as the reader, it just kind of felt like I was part of the crowd, or like maybe not the fan club, because obviously I'm not going to say, oh yeah, I'm a fan of Ro, and I don't know who the fuck Ro is.
Yeah.
At least to me, the way it was like presented felt kind of natural, because it's kind of like, it felt like how you would find that kind of information out if you were like a fan of figure skating.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's sort of in that world, but maybe you're not all wholly clued up. And then all of a sudden you overhear someone and they're like, oh yeah, like, did you hear like Rose's mum died? Because apparently she fell asleep at the wheel, like sort of seeing and hearing it. I don't know. I felt like it was kind of an interesting way of doing it. And I did sort of feel like I was part of a crowd of people, maybe not in the best way, because it kind of felt a bit like gossip. But at the same time, I was like, well, at least it's not one specific character being like, oh, this, and then this, and then this, and
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna call it out just because it just came into my brain. But like, Avatar live action where grandma comes in and is like, oh, everybody knows this story except for you, Avatar. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's better than that.
I'm looking back at the first chapter, and like I was trying to think like what points did I actually think this happened? And it basically happens in roughly the first 7 pages.
Yeah.
And then obviously you got like a lot of Rogue kicking off, and the fact that like he just basically
He just flips out, yeah.
Yeah, throws a chair through everything, all that kind of stuff. Like you see him basically win this competition, and then just freaking out. And then like obviously that happens, and then it goes to like a little cut where Rose basically moving away into a different part of the country, going to Hokkaido.
Yep.
And then I think it's where it goes to the news presenters just talking about everything.
Yeah, I mean, there was one news or one person in those panels that was weird, but I was like, you will find someone like that on TV
Yeah.
for sure. You know, the woman that was like, "Oh, just let whatever, I'll be his mum," and it's like, you're weird.
It is, yeah. It's, I'm looking at the panel right now, and she says, "I forgive him. Can I be his mum?" And then the other person's like, "You'd forgive a cannibal if he was handsome."
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? But I'm like, it's realistic though, because you will find people like that. That's like, oh yeah, I don't care.
I think it was like, looking back at the chapter, this isn't something that is like heavily in it, basically.
No.
But like I kind of remember it being one of the things I noticed. But other than that, like I think I want to like just really reiterate the fact that I actually really freaking enjoyed this manga, to be fair. Just because everything that kicks off in the story, it is one of those ones. I read the first chapter, and I was like, I'll read the second one as well, just to see what happens. Because Ro moves in with his granddad, and his granddad, like, it turns out he used to be an Olympic hockey player, basically.
Yes.
But like all this kicks off, so Ro just basically starts to learn the sport and like kind of come to terms with like what the rules are. So he's learning on the job basically for a lot of it.
Well, yeah, literally, because he was like, he gets roped into that first game, like you mentioned, and he don't know shit except how to skate.
He's like picking up the puck like from the floor. He's like freaking like,
he's doing stuff that he just sees and has experienced so far since being in Tamakomai.
Yeah.
Like, and he's like, he has a fight with the younger Genma brother, Keiichi.
yeah.
And like at one point Keiichi hooks him in the nuts with the hockey stick.
Yeah.
And for some reason Ro just thinks it's okay to do that in an official game. Like, because all he knows is you can body check people.
Yeah.
So he thinks you could just straight up like brawl, like you could just fight people, and it's like, no, dude, you can't just go and hook someone like that.
He's just basically doing what he wants on the rink, basically.
Pretty much.
Which is so funny to see, like, basically him come to terms with it. Because fair play to Ro as a character, he just goes straight in. He's like, "Yep, cool, I'm gonna do this," and like literally starts again, like just fouling people. He gets like thrown in the sin bin like about five times in a game just for like.
He basically lives
Yeah.
there, like, because he's constantly fucking up. But it like also makes sense because he's only ever done figure skating, and they mention that plenty of times in the manga.
Yeah.
So he's never done team sports. That's why he's so headstrong and stuff, because he's never really had to work as a team.
Mm.
So, but it's really well done though, because it's interesting watching. You know, like when in that game, that first game,
Yeah.
when he's like in a tough spot, and then all of a sudden, like you see him do some figure skating stuff, and you're like, that's actually pretty sick though. You know, like watching these guys who know how to skate and play the game, but then like Ro is like dodging them and doing all this like flexible stuff that obviously normally none of them would do. That was like super cool.
If you saw that in a real ice hockey game, you'd be like, "What the fuck?"
Could you imagine?
You'd be like losing your shit. Like imagine seeing that in like, you'd be like, "Fucking hell, look at this dude!" Like you would literally just all eyes would be on him basically. And that's what Ro thrives in though as well. This is one thing that like you learn as Ro's character in throughout the whole series is that he loves having the eyeballs and attention on him, really.
Yeah.
And he also is like, I just want like, he's basically aiming for the Olympics as well. That's like his main goal in this series. Like he's aiming like, if I can get to the Olympics, that's my dream basically throughout it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's how far you've read at all, if you've seen that at all. I can't remember.
I think it's mentioned once,
Yeah.
but it's also sort of mostly mentioned by other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the first 10 chapters at least, like his sister, it mentions it a fair amount.
Mm-hmm.
But like I got a tiny bit of backstory in the first 10 chapters about why his sister's sort of distant.
Yes.
And after reading that bit at least, I was like, oh, okay, I kind of get it now. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
It is one of those things. I think you get that bit of backstory, and like even throughout the chapters afterwards, you do get a little bit more context to it, a bit here and there. It's kind of drip feeds you a little bit. I don't think you still know the whole story, or like you know more than you did in the first chapter. Let's put it that way. Like you get like a shit ton more backstory there, but I don't think you get the full story. But that's great though. Like as you read the series, you get more of it. I think what made me read all of the chapters in this is because at first I was like, oh, okay, he's done this first game and he's getting a bit more into ice hockey. Let's see how he progresses in it. And becomes a bit more like, oh, I want to see where this goes. I want to see where this goes. And I found myself thinking, oh, I'll read the first 5 chapters of it, to just reading the whole series, just because I was like, this is actually quite a fun read. And all the characters in it, like there's like random offbeat comedy moments as well, which are brilliant, I think. Just like some characters' reactions are brilliant. I think the art's quite great in like just like how just when he's playing the sport and then when he just goes into basically figure skater mode and just starts doing all these random tricks. Like it's really well done like that as well. So it's easily become like a really great sports manga.
It's it is interesting to read because of like, do you remember we read the other figure skating one?
Yes, yeah.
And it was like, we were like, yeah, it looks all right. And it's going to be hard to depict like figure skating that well.
Bro, yeah.
And yet in this, every time Ro does like figure skating, I'm like, the sort of like speed lines and stuff are really bold and cool.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in that first match, or like anytime he does like one of the jumps and spins, you know, like I don't know, triple X or whatever.
Yeah.
I only know some of the names from watching Blades of Glory.
Of all things. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like when he does some of the jumps and some of the spins or something, like there's like really cool like speed lines and like effects in the panels
Yeah.
that I felt like the other one just didn't have.
I completely agree with you. Thinking back at that figure skating manga before, you're so right. There's some things which I wasn't sure completely sold on with that manga. It's one of those ones I would have given like a few more chapters to see how it goes. But you're so right with this. It shows you a lot of those individual movements and how he gets to that point. And it's the other characters around him which are reacting to it, which is just like, oh, okay. Like you see that this is like an abnormal thing to happen.
Yeah.
Obviously, and that all comes down to situation as well, because like this is a situation where you're never gonna find a figure skater, whereas obviously in that other series it is solely about figure skating.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I also thought it was cool that whilst you're watching them in a game, the Satoru Noda like puts arrows on the ice or like in the panel, so you sort of can follow the puck.
Yes.
And you get a sense of which way everything is moving and like how the game is going. And I was like, that's actually really interesting if you think about it, because like not many sports manga would do that.
Nah.
Like, could you imagine? Obviously, not something. Maybe like Haikyuu could have put like arrows in to be like, oh, this is where the ball's going, but you don't like need it like that.
No, you really wouldn't find it with many series at all, really. Like even I think like because both you and I we've read our fair share of sports mangas.
Between the two of us, I'm the king of sports manga. Like, I've read so many.
It's one of those ones where like I think you and me like we've read sports mangas, but I read very different sports mangas to you. I feel, or like there is like some crossover here and there.
Yeah.
I don't know, like something like Haikyuu or like even like Whistle or Captain Tsubasa.
Yeah.
Like, not that I've really read those series that much, but you wouldn't. I feel like there's more of like you can depict where the ball or wherever it's going in those series. Whereas this one, I think it's not the arrow thing isn't something you'd find very often in any sports manga. So you're right. I think it is handy to have that as well.
It is, because like if you think about like the chaos that can happen in an ice hockey game, again with all the body checking, like fast paced movement and stuff, like. It could be pretty hard, like especially if you're someone who maybe wanted to follow the sport itself or whatever, let's say. I don't know, it just sort of gave a different sense or feel to the manga, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. You couldn't imagine or try to imagine where like the game's moving or which side they're going to. But like it was just cool, like they used arrows to like show you like a long pass, and it would be like a super long arrow as well. Like in perspective, and you're like, oh cool, he passed to him, and now it's like taking a shot and stuff. Like it was just cool. It was a cool little like thing I noticed.
No, yeah, that's a very good point. I think like just going forward as well, like I don't know if you go read more of this, Nathan.
Oh, I want to. I know I'm in like a lull with manga, but like I read 10 because I was like, I have to find out. I need to know.
It's one of those series as well. Like in the first chapter, you got like 60 pages, pretty standard for a first chapter of a manga. And then you have like about 30, 40 odd in the second one, and then it go on and on. Like it goes for like lower and lower each chapter.
Yeah.
This didn't ever feel like, oh, this is a slog. This is a lot to get through.
No, it really didn't.
Like the chapters were over like that. I found that I read like the first like 5 or 6 in the space of like 20 minutes, basically, like maybe even less.
Yeah, same actually.
I was just speeding through. It's really like it keeps you wanting to read more with it, and like the the second half of the chapters right now, like past chapter 10 and going into into chapters maybe like 19 and 20 onwards. Like there's it's just really like it's like they're not even playing hockey right now. It's a lot of training stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to see how it all goes. And like there's again, like when I say there's comedy moments in this, it's just like obviously they're in Hokkaido, so countryside basically.
Yeah.
There's a point where like I think it's even in the first chapter you see that Ro finds out that there's bears in the area.
Yeah.
And in one chapter you actually see them run into a bear.
Oh god.
And and it's like there's a whole group of them. There's about 20 people, and 5 of them start running away, Ro included in it. And then they start running away from this bear, and then these other guys are like, "Hey, you guys are running pretty fast. What's the deal?" And they see the bear behind them, and they don't even like scream or anything. You just see them in the pack. Just like the next panel, you just see them in the pack joining them with the run. And like what they do is like again, the reaction face in this manga are so perfect, so you can imagine just like like exactly how that goes down. And it's some brilliant moments in it, like, and for like a series right now which is 24 chapters or so, it's something I actually really want to keep up with.
Yeah, same to be fair. Like
Yeah.
it was a quick, easy, fun read.
Yeah. I find myself even just talking about it now. Usually when it comes down to these anime or manga reviews, we've read like the first like 5 chapters or watched like 1 or 2 episodes or something, and we're like, oh, I really want to, like after this episode, I'll probably read more or something, or like, oh, I definitely want to chase up. And it's been the first time in a while where I've actually finished reading a whole series, and usually after these records, I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll probably read more of that. And I'm like, I actually can't read more of it. I've literally caught up to date with this thing. Like after this record, I can't go away and be like, yeah, I'll continue that. I'm up to date now, and it's mad. Like, and it doesn't happen very often these days with manga. Like when we do these reviews, it doesn't feel like that's happened in a while. And I kind of just like I want to know when the next chapter's out now. But but yeah, 100%. I'll try and keep up to date with it.
I want to keep up to date with this, and I'm kind of hoping that this is the one that sort of brings me back to reading manga, because like I've missed out on a lot, and whilst I've been in a whole burnout because of trying to keep up with too much weekly, I still am just kind of man, what is out there? Like there's got to be some cool stuff, right? This being one of them. Really glad we chose this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's a pretty good sports manga, like that I do reckon will probably go on for a while, or at least I hope so. God, please do not take my usual sports manga streak.
Oh no!
Please.
No!
Please. Please don't count this. Don't count this one. Pepe found this first. Please.
It's one of those series that like I had no expectations from it either. This is one thing that's really caught me off guard, and how like just going into it, it's like, oh cool, we give this a read, and it's nothing. It's a manga I didn't expect to be this, like, find this enjoyable. So hopefully, like, fingers crossed it doesn't follow suit of its previous run, because it makes me wonder like how that, like, it basically I don't know. I think it was Wikipedia. It said it was like a failure, right, or like a commercial failure.
Yeah, a commercial failure, but that was because the original version, Supina Murata, was like Satoru Noda's first ever publication, like first ever serialized series. Before that, they were assistants for like a long time. So, you know, your first series isn't always going to be the best thing. Not everyone's, you know, got that magic that their first series just like kills it. But I'm interested to see how different it actually is, because like we said in the breakdown, like they then went to do Golden Kamui, which like took off. right? Like Golden Kamuy is huge. So presumably you've learned a whole lot about producing manga by that point, right? So like I'm just kind of interested to know what kind of edits were done, you know, like because the character already looks different. At least from the wiki, I saw an image of Supina Murata, and it's like I'm assuming that's Ro on the front, and Ro looks really different now.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, even just looking at that image right now, it's like it is a very different looking character. And like, this is one thing what you're saying as well. Like that first run of the manga was over 10 years ago. So and like you said, like he's done Golden Kamuy since, and I think no, like learning from that and incorporating like all those changes of like like I feel like this probably might have even been like a passion project maybe
Probably.
that they were like, look, it's a shame that this went down the way it is. Give me another shot at this, and let me actually redo the mistakes that might have happened.
Yeah.
And you learn, and you can even learn from that in the fact that it got cancelled. Is like, oh, maybe this is the reason why it was cancelled. Let's edit that. Let's change that. Let's make the character maybe more like. This is another thing. Ro feels like a character which isn't really relatable at all.
No, not at all.
Which is the funniest thing as well. But it's also like, give him those quirks. Give him like, he wants to do well. He just goes over the top and stuff like that. Maybe the other one was just like, maybe the previous row was just a thug. And he was just like, oh yeah, I just reckon stuff for the sake of it. And then he goes into it. But maybe,
Who knows?
yeah, just who knows what the whole thing is. But regardless, right here, right now, I feel like there's hope for this series, especially since Golden Kamuy was such a success. Maybe like even the mangaka is bringing those fans over from that series. Like, oh, Golden Kamuy's authors is making new manga. Let me check it out.
Yeah.
Hopefully that carries over. I really do hope it does.
I mean, I'm hoping for all of that. Again, I'm hoping because you found it first, technically, that this doesn't count to my normal streak. Serious? I'm serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is an interesting thought because all Wiki said was relaunch. But obviously, we don't know how much work went into relaunch. Like, is it just re-illustration, like just new character designs, or is it just the basic premise that was taken over and it's all redone? Like, it's an interesting thought to be like, I wonder how much of the original outside of the premise like stayed.
Yeah, it's mad. This is in the same magazine as well. That's like that really feels like a thing.
But then, like, I suppose when it's an author that does something like Golden Kamuy that like got super huge,
yeah.
If they come back to you and they're like, right, I want to do this thing, you're not gonna say no. Could you imagine? It'd be like Oda finishes One Piece, right? Takes a break for a while and then comes back to Weekly Jump and is like, I want to do this. Are you gonna turn around and say no?
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Like, and plus, like, Golden Kamuy was in Weekly Young Jump as well. So I feel like it's gonna be that thing where like they've really supported. Yeah, God, like you said, hopefully this Nathan's curse doesn't affect this at all. And I do hope that, like, even look, I don't know if you ever checked it out at all, Nathan, but Manga Plus app has at the end of a chapter, it lets you continue on to the next one, or it finishes, or you can read the comments, what people are saying.
Used to read the comments, but I didn't this time because I was reading like really late before bed.
But like reading this chapter, it had like the latest chapter. I like looked at the comments on it, and it had 88 comments on it, which is nothing as big as something like One Piece or Boruto or whatever. But for a series that isn't one of the biggest ones on the app, I feel like 88 comments is quite sound.
I mean, 88 is pretty good as long as the comments. God knows I stopped reading the comments on those a lot of manga on Manga Plus because it was a lot of series I was liking.
Yeah.
That were new in Jump, and like the comments were just like, yeah, this is getting axed.
It is, and it is so true. When you read a new Weekly Jump series, the comments are literally axed in 6 weeks or something like that. Like, this is getting the chop, like, and you're like, oh, okay.
Sometimes this is from chapter 1, and you're just like, what?
It is, isn't it?
What is your problem? Why are you like this? And it's just like the same thing all the way up until it's axed, and then that's when half of them flip and they're like, oh man, I really like this. That's a shame.
Yeah.
Or the other half are like, told you.
Unless it's like a Kagurabachi or something like that. It's like half of them are like kind of...
Oh, mate.
But it's good to see this being well received. I think like that is the main thing, and hopefully we do see some success from this. And I do really hope that it has longevity.
I mean, me too, because it's like, what's the biggest? I haven't been following manga for a little while now.
Yeah.
Like, what's the biggest sports series at the moment? Is there even one?
Oh God.
You know what I mean? Like, it was Haikyuu before that. So what took its place?
I know that I don't think anything's really taken its place as of yet. Like even just looking at the top series on Manga Plus right now, I mean,
I feel like we're due one, right?
it should be like
There's normally like every so often like one sports manga like pops up and like is in the big names.
yeah.
So like I feel like we're due one since Haikyuu.
Blue Box is up there, but again, that's like it feels like a hype. It's a hype. It's a different kind of series though. It's a different.
Go and listen to our episode about it from way back when. But like we like Blue Box, but Blue Box isn't like heavily sports. It's almost like a half-half kind of thing.
It's a hybrid series, and I think it ticks off Weekly Jump's quote of, "Oh, we need a romance manga and we need a sports manga," which is probably why you're not actually finding many sports manga in Jump right now.
Yeah.
It is, at least that's what I think anyway. Yeah. Oh, you got that golf series.
What, Green Greens?
Green Greens, which is on 18
Is that still going?
18 chapters right now. So yeah, it's towards the back of the magazine by the looks of it.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's probably got plenty of those axed comments.
Yeah. Blue Box obviously flying like quite near the top.
Well, I mean, it should do, right?
Akane Banashi's really popping off right now. People loving that.
Isn't Blue Box getting an anime?
Is it confirmed?
I don't know. I just remember seeing something about it. I don't know if it was confirmed or not.
I don't think it has. Anime television series. Yeah, it's scheduled for October this year.
Oh, see? I'm not going crazy.
That's good. I'm happy for that series. That's a really good series.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, do you have anything else you want to say about this series, Nathan, before we wrap this up?
Please go and read it. It's really good. It's actually it is actually really, really good. And it's interesting. I think that Noda's done it well
Absolutely, yeah.
to mix figure skating with ice hockey. So yeah, please go read it.
Yeah, if you're like a sports manga person, like I feel like this is gonna be right up your street. Like whatever sports manga you've read before, guaranteed this will be something which I reckon. That's a recommendation I think you'd enjoy. But yeah, that brings an end to this episode, guys. If you've read this series, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to see your reactions to it. And remember to always like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell button for future Cultured Boys videos. Check the links in our bio. We have all the X and what was it, the podcast stuff. We've got all those links. Said bio, I meant description. You know what I mean. Anyway, catch us later for another Cultured Boys episode. Bye bye.
Bye.